Sarikopites! Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today I'm going to teach you how to make one of my favorite desserts. These are little Cretan, they come from the island of Crete where my family comes from. Cretan turban pies, in Greek they're called Sarikopites because this is named after the Cretan style turban. I know sariki is also, I believe it's a Turkish word too, but isn't it great that we share, food brings us all together? But this is a sariki. This is what men wear in Crete. Let me show you. Let's take a look at this. It's really cool. Isa, you want to come and demonstrate how it's worn? So hopefully you're in the shot. Come closer. So it's basically a little turban, a really cool one too. Fancy schmancy one. This is Isa, everyone. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, so let's get back to the recipe. So basically these are little cheese pies that are made with a homemade dough that's literally a few ingredients that you probably already have on hand. They're delicious, they're fried. Of course you can bake them and I'll show you how to do both, but if you want to get maximum flavor out of these, you're gonna have to fry them and they're just ready in 8 minutes, so you don't wanna. We're going to go over all of that in a little while. I just don't want to ramble because I cannot wait to get this recipe started. We're going to begin by making the dough. So you can do this in a stand mixer, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a bowl because really all you need is a big bowl for this. So I'm going to add a cup of water, and we might need more later on. It just depends on the flour. So I'm going to have a little bit handy. And then I'm using vinegar because it makes the dough really nice and tender. You can use lemon juice instead, and you could use red vinegar or white vinegar, whichever one. 3 tablespoons. There we go. And we need a 1/4 cup of olive oil. This is light olive oil. You can also switch it out for vegetable oil, whatever you have on hand. And a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now we're just going to whisk this all up. And now we're going to add the flour. I have 4 cups, or it's anywhere between 585 grams to 600 grams of all-purpose flour. And I'm just going to do this a little bit at a time. You could use a whisk first to kind of whisk it all together. And then once it starts to get too thick to handle with the whisk, then you're just going to go ahead and knead the rest of the flour in with your hands for about 5 to 6 minutes or so, or until it's all combined and a dough is formed that's nice and smooth. If it's a little bit on the drier side, then you're just going to want to add a couple of tablespoons of water. This recipe really takes me back to the island of Crete. This is something that's very commonly found in the villages. So if you ever stay in Crete in a village, you'll probably have the best experience ever. People are so friendly and hospitable. And you might get to taste one of these sarikopites, which a lot of times the ladies have in their freezers because they're usually always prepared. And they'll take it out and fry it for you and drizzle lots of delicious Greek honey on top. And sometimes they put sesame seeds or even crushed walnuts. It is so good. Oh my goodness. Takes me way back. So you see how the dough is kind of dry? I'm just going to add a little bit more water on my hands. This is about like 2 tablespoons. Once I'm done kneading this, I'm going to cover this with a clean kitchen towel, or you can do some saran wrap and set it aside for 30 minutes to rest. The dough is almost done resting. Now it's time to make the filling. The filling is basically 2 ingredients. Originally it's only 1 in Greece. It's made with xynomyzithra, which is a traditional cheese made in Crete. It's a tangy cheese. So the closest thing that I can get to it over here, because I definitely can't find it here, is some ricotta that I've strained overnight really well so it's nice and dry, all the liquid comes out, and some feta cheese. Now if you don't want that tanginess from the feta, feel free to substitute the feta for some cream cheese. That will work. So I have some feta cheese here, and I'm just going to crumble it with my fingers. So try to get a full fat ricotta cheese, a really good high quality one, and then put it either in a strainer or in lots of paper towels or a clean kitchen towel overnight in the refrigerator so that way it gets as dry as possible. Now the best myzithra is from my aunt's village in Greece known as Armenus. There's also a fabulous restaurant there known as Drossostalia, which is so beautiful. And that myzithra just tastes so good. I brought some home with me from Greece. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but I did. And I already used it all up. But this is second best. It's just as close as you can get. And before I forget, it's not traditional, but I am going to add a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract because I love the floral sweetness that it adds. It's not really sweetness, it's just more floral. So we're going to just mix this all up. And that's it. The filling is done. Now we're just going to roll out the dough. So the dough has rested. I'm going to take a little bit of flour and just put it on my work surface. And I'm going to cut this into 2 equal pieces. Okay, I'm going to set one aside. Now I'm going to put lots of flour on my work surface. And I'm going to roll this out to 18 inches by 10 inches long. No, sorry, 18 inches long by 10 inches wide. The 10 inches can vary. It can be a little bit longer or even a little bit shorter. I like to stick to the longer side. But the 18 inches you need because we're then going to cut this into 6 strips and you want them to be all even. Where's my rolling pin? Here it is. And I like to use my baking pan as a reference because it's 18 inches long and then the inside part is a little bit bigger than 10 inches. But I also do have a ruler here in case I need it, a measuring tape that is. That looks about right. Now we're going to cut it all into 6 equal strips. So they're going to be, I'm going to cut at the 3-inch mark. Okay, so the strips are made. The bottom one is going to be a little bit bigger and so is the top one. That's totally fine, no big deal. So now what we're going to do, you want to have a little bowl of water next to you with a brush. You want to have your trays lined with parchment paper. Now, this is parchment paper that has already been used. I don't like to waste anything. I made cookies and it's perfectly fine for this recipe too. If it doesn't turn black or if there's no oil on it, I'm going to reuse it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush the top of the first strip and the side with a little bit of water. That's going to help it seal afterwards. And then I'm going to take some of the filling and I'm just going to roll it a teaspoon at a time. And I'm going to put it on the bottom third. And if your ricotta is strained properly, it's going to roll very easily into little logs. You don't have to do this. You can just take little teaspoons and just spread it, but I feel like this is easier. There you go. 2 to 3 teaspoons should be good. And then I'm going to roll it up like that. Make sure that it seals. So now we have just a long piece of phyllo that's filled with the feta filling or the cheese filling, and now I'm just going to roll it up to kind of make it a shape of a coil or a turban. And you can take a little bit of water and just seal the edge. Go ahead and put it on the tray. I'm going to continue the same process until all of the strips are made. Once these are done, I'm going to roll out the second batch of dough or the second piece of dough that I have. So once you're done forming them, at this point you could either put them in the refrigerator because you can make these a day ahead of a party. If you're serving these at a party, you can definitely make these a day ahead. Or you could even make these 2 weeks ahead because they freeze beautifully. If you're going to freeze them at this point, wrap the tray in plastic wrap, or you can just let them put the tray in the freezer. And once they're frozen solid, then you can transfer them into freezer-safe bags. And you can fry them frozen when you're ready to use them. You're just going to add an extra 2 minutes to the frying time. Right now I'm going to fry a few and then I'm going to freeze a few. So you want that oil to be pretty hot. I'm using a flavorless vegetable oil is best. I'm using grapeseed oil today. So you want the oil to reach about 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Then go ahead and very carefully put them in. I'm going to do 3 at a time. You don't want the oil's temperature to drop too much. And they're going to fry for about 4 minutes on each side or until they're nice and golden. Now you're going to want to put a little bit less oil than I did in my pan. You do not need that much. I don't know what I was thinking actually. So about 1 inch or 1.5 inches of oil is fine. And don't mess with them. Don't try to flip them over before the 4-minute mark, because then they're going to start to break and you're going to have a mess on your hands. So after 4 minutes, flip them over, let them cook for another 4 minutes. If they're frozen, do the same thing. Flip them every 4 minutes and then cook them 1 minute extra on each side and you will be good to go. Now these taste best fried, but if you really want to cut some of the calories and you don't feel like frying, you could definitely bake these. They're not going to be as good, but they're still going to be really tasty. What you're going to want to do is put them on a baking tray that's lined with parchment paper. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Brush them liberally all over the top and the sides with some melted butter, and you can sprinkle some sesame seeds on top and bake them for about 40 minutes. They're not going to turn too golden, that's the thing with this, but they are going to definitely be delicious. Once they're nice and golden all around, it's going to take about 45 minutes. Take them out, let them just cool just a little bit, and then you can serve them with either some powdered sugar on top or drizzle them with lots and lots of honey. Now you're going to want to keep in mind that if you're going to keep the heat on too high underneath the pan, what's going to happen is it's going to brown too fast on the bottom. It might even start to turn black. If that happens, don't panic. Just once they're out of the frying pan, scrape that off. It comes off really easily. But just keep it over medium. Let them cook nice and slow, and they're going to become nice and beautiful and golden. When they're done, take them out and put them on a tray or a plate that's lined with paper towels. And just so that way the oil absorbs, the excess oil absorbs. And then these are best served warm because they're going to be nice and crisp and crunchy. You can dust lots of powdered sugar on top and even some cinnamon, or my favorite way to do this is drizzle lots and lots of honey. If you have Greek honey, that is the best. Today I didn't. I had this honey, which you'll do as well. As long as it's like a nice floral honey, it'll do. Sprinkle some sesame seeds on top, or you could do walnuts. Make some tea, call some friends over, and dig in. Let me take a bite. Oh my God. You have not lived if you do not try this. It is so good. The exterior is perfectly crispy. It almost reminds me of loukoumades, which are Greek donuts. The inside, the filling is nice and creamy with a perfect little hint of tanginess from the feta. That honey on top makes it just so amazing and so good. The recipe, as always, is underneath this video in the description box, as well as on the website, www.dimitrasdishes.com. Make sure you print this out and you make this recipe and you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. So I think you guys are going to love these. If you want to learn another delicious dessert recipe, then click on this annotation right here and I will see you right over there. Thank you guys for spending time with me today. I will see you all next time. Yes,